I hope you've been well. Well, it has new connotations these days, but I seriously hope that you have been staying healthy. Today we are going to be analysing the sample VCAA English language analysis article. I'll have a link for it in the description box below so you can go ahead and download it. Make sure you have a read of it first and then come back to this video afterwards so that we can analyze it together. I'll be picking out parts of this article to show you my thought processes and give you that insight into what I'm thinking about every time I come across a new article to analyze. If you're somebody who wants a written version of what I'm saying, then you can go ahead to our free blog post, which includes a written analysis of this article. Let's briefly discuss the background for this article before we dive deeper. So, the background information tells us that biodiversity is a term used to describe life on Earth. The variety of living things, the places they inhabit, and the interactions between them. The article at hand is a transcript of a speech given by Professor Chris Lee, and I've got transcript there, at the International Biodiversity Conference 2010. The purpose of this Nagoya conference is to review the progress made towards achieving the target and to look beyond 2010. In my last video, How to Write an A+ Introduction, I talked about the acronym CD-FAST-CAT. You can feel free to check it out, but I talk about how important it is to understand and read the background information because that can really influence your understanding of the article looking forward. So if you're not familiar with the acronym, then I encourage you to watch that video too. Now let's analyze the opening of the speech. Take a second to pause this video, read through Lee's speech opener, and then we'll analyze together. So he talks about fellow delegates to begin with. Firstly, we can analyze the way in which Lee addresses his audience. Rather than using a phrase like, "Hi everyone," or a similar greeting, he actually refers to his audience as his fellow delegates, which allows him to speak in a particularly candid and honest manner. He wants to be transparent about the reality of the situation with his peers, rather than trying to impress an audience or something along those lines. Immediately, through fellow delegates, you understand that there's something formal about what's happening here. He's using formal speech, which only serves to emphasize and heighten how serious this matter is. Next, I want to have a look at this anecdote. A lush jungle housing a variety of interesting flora and fauna, all the way through to the beetles are gone and the birds are gone. Overall, this anecdote appeals to the emotions of the audience and plays on an apparent devotion or commitment presumably made to the environment by the delegates of the Biodiversity Conference. Lee uniquely speaks to persuade his audience by using the information he knows about them, that is, their past commitments. More specifically, we can dive into the pejorative mood of the adjectives he uses to describe the second scene, which is one of destruction, especially compared to the images he presents at first. The lush jungle, with a variety of interesting flora and fauna on the banks of a clear river, appears particularly idyllic in juxtaposition with the images of the scorched earth, gooey mudslide, sepia tinge, and barren sticks helplessly groping for life. In the last sentence, the repetition of the word gone 3 times reminds Lee's fellow delegates of what will be lost if action on biodiversity is not taken. Often, what students tend to do if they're unsure is start identifying lots and lots of topics because they think that this is what's going to get them more marks. But what's actually more important is understanding which techniques you should choose to analyze because sometimes less is more. It also allows you to take the extra time that you've got when you've got less techniques to analyze to actually go into them in more detail, the effect that have on the audience, and that's what really scores you the extra points. I'd recommend you download a free sample of my How to Write a Killer Language Analysis ebook if you haven't already, so that you can really optimize your performance in language analysis. In this introduction, I've only selected of the few key language techniques that I'd like to analyze. So it's not absolutely everything that I can see, and that is a skill that needs to be developed as well. But let's move on to a later section of this article. So we've got, but everyone in this lecture theatre knows this. So we're looking at this particular paragraph. We are in truth the most educated generation of any to date. We have no excuse for inaction. One of the first things that might jump out to you is the repetition of inclusive language. We have we are and we have. However, this is too obvious. For an upper level response, we want to steer clear of cliche techniques and analyze ones that have more value and show off your own unique perspective based on this article. So, something else you could analyze is, in a way, he flatters his audience. He says, we are the most educated generation of any to date. So, because you guys are the ones who are the most educated, or when I say you guys, I mean his fellow delegates, there's really no excuse not to move forward. They're the ones who, at this time and place, have the most up-to-date knowledge, have probably the most skill set, have innovation technologies, whatever it is that makes it possible to actually go and make change. Now the next bit is, but everyone in this lecture theatre knows this, and I'm going to connect it to the clearly. Utilizing the statements, everyone in the lecture knows this, and clearly it is our lack of unity, Lee includes his audience and holds the delegates accountable through declaring the reason for failure as simple matters of fact. Next, I want to talk about wonderful words, glossy brochures, inspiring documentaries, and no substitute for real inaction. Lee trivializes the actions of the organization in creating glossy brochures with wonderful words as marketing tools to create the impression that meaningful action is being taken. But Lee exposes these actions as deceitful and calls for real action, seeking to persuade his audience into putting their effort into actual gains in the biodiversity fight. So that's it. I hope this helps you understand how you can analyze a speech, and I hope it has given you some extra tips for you when you're heading into your next language analysis SACA exam. Be sure to check out my free sample so that you can understand how to convert these analyses into a written response. Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.